So we've been over this, I think, before a couple of times, but it's always worth reminding people. Why did the UK end up joining the beginnings of what would eventually become the EU? Well, I think it was one of the previous Conservative prime ministers. I can't remember if it was maybe was it Harold Wilson? I can't remember now. But he would always tell the story of when he went golfing. He would hear the screeches of golf carts as UK CEOs saw him golfing, or business owners again saw him golfing. They'd slam on their golf brakes and run over to him, or not run over him, but they'd run over to him and they'd say, "Hey, we want to get in on this European Economic Area, this whole EEA that's sort of starting. We can see it being a big bonus for us. We can see it being really good. We want in on that action as well." And as a result, what ended up happening? The Conservatives became a very, very pro-European party. Why? Because it was businesses that started to put pressure on their parties that they used to be sort of quite influential with and sort of a big part of. And eventually, we ended up being part of that, and, so on and so on. But unfortunately, especially during the Brexit campaign, and this was unfortunately very much, I think, a shift in UK business culture, that especially it seemed under Thatcher that businesses weren't really allowed to have a voice. There were trade bodies, there were trade bodies that had a voice, but big sort of UK businesses sort of weren't really allowed to have a voice anymore. And that was what was really lost. And I think lacking, I think a lot in the Brexit campaign of big, even, medium sized, small UK businesses really speaking out about what the consequences of Brexit would be. Now, over time, we've actually seen that. We've covered that on this channel of businesses saying, hey, now you've done this, this is going to be a problem for us. Oh, hey, now you've done this, this is going to be a problem for us. So only now, well, not only now, but you are going to see businesses start to get even louder and louder and louder when it comes to the issue of Brexit. They know the problems they are having. They know the problems that they are facing. They know that it is a big, creating a bottleneck in the UK economy. And they are going to be screaming at Rachel Reeves, especially Keir Starmer, all these other sort of, big now UK politicians. And not only just them, but Labour MPs in their constituencies who have businesses, who have these businesses, are going to be speaking to their MPs and saying, hey, this whole Brexit thing now is becoming a huge problem. This whole deal that you did is a problem. It's not working for us. So how long before, they actually do something about it? I really do not believe it will be that long. But also, as we are now hearing, very interesting, we'll get to this in a bit as well. We are now hearing businesses in Europe that do a lot of trade with the UK saying, hey, these barriers, bit of a problem. We'd like to see, our government do something about them. And that's not a UK business saying that. That is a, EU businesses potentially saying that here. So, um, everyone is saying, this big sort of reset that we have been seeing and looking at, covering constantly. Everyone seems to sort of want to go for it, want to sort of see this work, see this succeed. But again, I quote the Times of Malta article. The big problem at the moment is that the EU, its current institutions, seem to have a bit of Brexit PTSD. And that even though you now have a completely new government that is not ideologically set in its ways, that is sort of saying, hey, let's talk, let's negotiate these things, apparently, oh no, that's not going to happen. That's just all nice platitudes. Despite you've had the Spanish Prime Minister push for sort of renew relations. We've seen Germany's top diplomat to the UK say these things. The list goes on of EU officials. Not even just EU officials, but EU people, people in EU countries and nations who want to see, a good deal be done, a better one be struck, because even they can say, "Hey, actually, that deal that we struck might be affecting our economy a bit." As we'll get to that in a moment. But why is this going to be ultimately effective? Well, just look at what news story came up today. This came out. Brexit delays of seed importers could now hit and cripple crop production, says growers. So this is, of course, seed importations, the checks that now have to be sort of implemented. To a point now where we are now double checking these things. They get checked in the EU, they get checked on here, and these delays are causing significant delays, up to 6 weeks in some cases, which if you are a grower, if you are perfectly timing your seeds to arrive at a certain date, you need to plant them, etc. You plan your growth, all that stuff. There's a whole sort of series of things that go into this. It's a lot more complicated than just putting the seed in the ground and watering it every so often, and making sure there's fertilizer, etc. Sort of there for the plants to grow, or in this case, tomatoes. There's a lot more stuff that does go into it. So we go down once again to have a look at here what the National Union of Farmers said back in January, saying these new Brexit border checks could now pose an existential threat to growers because the checks would then lead to long delays and young plants are now being damaged or even destroyed. And the Guardian has now spoken to several importers of plant goods that have also seen now consignments damaged during the physical inspection checks. Once again, it's British businesses here really sort of speaking out and saying, these aren't working. These checks are not working. We have to do something about them. Like, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think the government's going to do? I'm honestly just generally interested asking people, because I know people get upset when I say these things. But no, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think our government's eventually going to do? It's going to have to do something, and it's doing it now, saying, hey, we want to reset. We want to sort of renegotiate these things. We want to see new deals and stuff be made, and not even potentially us, because you go back to this. This was over from a month ago. Oh, hang on, there we go. This was over from a month ago now. Dutch lorry drivers could now stop bringing goods into the UK if post-Brexit delays are not cut. So you've got Dutch hauliers now saying, we're worried about our safety, our drivers, are the care that sort of they have to be given because of the facilities at these border checks are just not adequate enough. One of them says in the article here that they can't even get food at these places when they're stuck there in some cases for, as you can see, over 55 hours. And that's the logistics companies. But then what about the Netherlands companies that are using these hauliers to now deliver stuff into the UK? Remember, the Netherlands is the UK's third largest importer. So the Netherlands sends a lot of stuff over to the UK. And that is, let me see, if we find it here. I think it was like, where is it? Yeah. So the Netherlands was the UK's third largest trading partner by imports this last year, with more than £65 billion worth of goods being transported. One of the biggest categories of products moved from the Netherlands to the UK is now plants, cut flowers, with imports of these products reaching over 2.1 billion euros. So do you not think that, as you can see, this is a consignment, a shipment that got damaged because of physical checks? Do you not think eventually that these Dutch flower growers might go to their government and start putting pressure on them, saying, yeah, hey, our trade with the UK is worth quite a lot to our company. We want to see these checks reduced. Do you not think European companies start putting pressure that have, like I say, if the Netherlands, where its third largest trade partner, do you not think that then the Netherlands government puts pressure on the EU when it comes time to these like negotiations and things like that? Because we're already seeing Germany say, yeah, we want this security deal that they've talked about doing to be like really deep and comprehensive. We want to see like veterinary deals and all these other things that were going about. When we mentioned the UK's, the German ambassador to the UK talk about this. So there are going to be movements on this, and it will be, I think, ultimately businesses that once again end up really driving this, because this is something the government cannot ignore. The government cannot ignore this. And I really do think we are going to get government that has to sort of say, turn around and say, right, we've really got to improve the situation for our businesses here. And it's not just things like, maybe look at rejoining the customs union, maybe even the single market. It's, let's have a look at these deals and etc. How can we move forward towards that? And these are negotiations that are going to take place. This is what's going to happen. And guys, I've been saying this, I don't know how long, but for some reason, people get really upset when I say these things. But there you go. But anyway, as always, let me know what you think down below. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.